Hello and welcome to the General Board edition of the Christian Recorder Dialogues. We have with us a very special guest today, known to us all, the Right Reverend Elizabeth Ann Henning-Byfield, the 135th elected and consecrated Bishop of the African Methodist Episcopal Church and the President of the Council of Bishops and my Bishop of the 13th Episcopal District. Welcome today, Bishop Byfield, to be with us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thomas.
As we also tell everyone in the comments, the chats, talk about, reference your bishop, your presiding elder, your church, and be part of this discussion. And we're looking forward to your giving us your comments. And Bishop, we are so excited to have you today. Well, we're in Nashville, we made it, and it is your investiture. And I enjoyed yesterday the investiture so much. And for those of us who were not able to be there, participate, tell us a little bit about the concept behind this unique investiture, because it was truly a celebration of arts.
It was, the concept came out of a couple of things. First of all, I didn't want, because I'm not a traditional person, I didn't want the traditional worship service as often as done. And I was trying to marry what would be a celebration in a comfortable setting. So that was one. And then the second concept is that I am very artistic. I'm a poet, I'm a composer. And so I wanted to reflect that as it is in the 13th district. So I really wanted the 13th district to shine. So we invited artisans from all over the district, making sure that every conference was recognized. We have 4 conferences: Kentucky, East Tennessee, Tennessee, and Memphis that participated. So that was the concept, that we could just come and celebrate. And then the added bonus was that almost all of them asked if they could do something of mine.
Wow.
So you had the choir, MCAM, who did a medley of songs that I had written, and a couple of pieces of them have never been played, never been sang publicly, and that was overwhelming. And so to have Jamarian lead, to take lead on the song. And then the hype was CC Winan from Nashville. Well, the 2 hypes for me, all of it was just inspiring and exciting. But the 2 personal heights, other than hearing my own music and poetry, was that Roland Carter. Mm-hmm. Roland Carter is a musician that I remember from childhood. Mm-hmm. So to have him play, it was like, wow. And for those who don't know Roland Carter, I always have to describe him this way. If you've heard the anthem, "Lift Up Your Voice and Sing," he's the one who composed that arrangement. So that was a real high. And then the other high for me, and I'm sure you want to talk about this, was having all 4 bishops who are women closing out.
Yeah. And a couple of things for those of you who are watching. You know, the Council of Bishops does a worship service every year, and we do an investiture for bishop. Now, some people were wondering, well, where was the worship service? This is a unique year because this is a General Conference year. So the Council of Bishops worship service was at the General Conference. So this was the investiture celebrating the investiture of the bishop, which you get the medallion at General Conference, but we celebrate you formally in December at the General Board. You got that right here. that receives luster with age and use. We're going to talk about the use. But, you know, there's so much talent in the 13th District, you know, and Roland Carter is an AME from Chattanooga. I was also thinking about David Oliver, who is Bishop Cousins' grandson, well, no, he's nephew, and he's the organist of Morehouse, and he, you know, he's from here, you know, from Chattanooga. But for me, hearing your song sung, and we're going to, I remember General Board was, I think, 2 General Boards ago, we were introduced to the African American hymnal, and by, I think, I forgot which press did it, but it was a new hymnal that was done.
It was Abbott.
It was Abington.
Abington.
Yeah, and it was huge because the person came and said, you all need to know that one of your own is in this hymnal. And like, who's in the hymnal? Who's in the hymnal? It's Ann Byfield. And they're like, what?
Right.
What? The bishop writes, and I remember Bishop Richard got up and said, we have so much talent in this church. Yeah. You know, and just hearing your songs, and I mean, they're beautiful medleys. And I know one was sung at General Conference when you were receiving the medallion General Conference.
And that's one they debated, because there's an anthem version of that. and they were going to do the anthem version, and then they came to me and they said, I said, I'm not in this. You know, you all choose what you think. And Anthony Benson, who's been in my life since he was 8 years old, he said, I think they need to hear the diversity of your music, and we would like to do 4 or 5 pieces that we do short versions. So I was like, go, you know, it's your thing. So that for me was, and the other part of it that was unique, and it's just my childhood, is having a child sing the grace.
Yeah, yes, you did the traditional Wesleyan grace sung by a child.
Right.
God is great. Yeah, I remember a friend of mine in New York, Edith Cartlin, she sings that. I remember the first time she sang, I'm like, you singing this? I said, okay, this is,
right.
but it's a traditional Wesleyan grace.
Right, so, but that was the concept. It was just a time for people to come, relax, and enjoy. Even when we had to shift the time because of some other issues. But yeah, I'm very pleased.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
And about the music piece, if I just make a plug right quick, you know, we've seen a lot of virtual meetings, a lot of virtual annual conferences and our processionals. We have a rich diversity of AME music. So I am appealing to the MCAM, I'm appealing to the bishops, I'm appealing to the persons who put together your music. We know more than 3 hymns and 2 anthems. We have the capacity to sing and do more. And some of them are written by you, by others. So let's try to diversify and use. And we have people who read music, so let's try to sing stuff that's a little bit different. And then put the words on so people can follow, because we know that if we don't put the words up, the people won't have the words.
And the other, I guess, the tip of the service, several people have said, having the Tennessee.
The marching band. We have the marching band. The drum line.
The drum line
came in.
Right. So the drum line came in. They performed, and then ushered me in. Ushered my husband and I in, and our senior bishop, Bishop Richardson, was a drum major and played on the percussion. And I looked back to see if he was
And for he was a FAMU, you know, TSU, a FAMU normally play a game every year with the Battle of the Bands. I went to one of those in Atlanta, so yeah.
But so that was, it was, of course, tiring, but I am very grateful to the entire church for participating, particularly the Council of Bishops and the persons connectionally, the people who flew in. Some flew in for the German board, some flew in just for the event, and then for the work of the 13th district, beyond my imagination. And
we see this pink and green bracelet on her wrist, and also at the investiture was the president of Tennessee State University, right, Glenda Baskin Glover, who happens to be the
international president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And just in the aside, these were made by a Nashville artisan.
Wow.
We gave every bishop a personally designed. So if you were Sigma, of course, he had blues.
I might have to try to see if I can get one from Jackson or Bishop Green. And
so we may just take care of you. And then if you're an Alpha, Kappa, Q, and if you didn't have any Greek affiliations, we did purples, shades of purple. And we have 20 Episcopal districts, and so all of them are 20.
Oh, that's nice.
So they were like, wow, this is, but so that's.
And another highlight for me, and we were talking about this before the interview, was seeing the 4 women of the episcopacy. And it took me back to, I know you had prayers from the 3, praying for you, the 3 living bishops who've been elected. And of course, we always honor and remember Bishop Davis, one of my favorite bishops.
Right, and she was last night. Yeah.
The
concept of that was, I wanted to share, how do I highlight bishops who are female? And I didn't want to give them traditional roles of, you read the scripture, and it hit me from the concept of the blessing of the elders. And so I wanted the blessings of the bishops. And it was just funny because we are such a hierarchical, political, protocol church. I had Bishop Brickens first,
Mhm.
because she's the youngest.
Mhm.
But she's an active bishop.
Yeah.
Then Bishop Guidry,
Mhm.
even though she's a retired bishop, then I felt I wanted her as, and then of course Bishop McKenzie, the first elected bishop who's a woman in all of Black Methodism, and who just retired, but they kept shifting it.
I saw that.
And they were shifting it so that Bishop Guidry, who was retired, then Bishop Brickens, who is active, and then Bishop McKenzie, who was retired. I leave all those details to the people and to God. So what was meaningful for me was that I said, you all pray, I want you to bless the church, or bless me, or bless whatever.
Mhm.
And without having any conversations, no organization, Bishop Guidry blessed the issue of women,
Mhm.
and celebrated Bishop Carol Taylor.
Carolyn Tyler.
No,
Oh no.
Carol.
Carol.
So she did that too, and then Bishop Brookins prayed for me,
Mhm.
very powerful prayer, and then Bishop McKenzie prayed for the church, and I just thought it fit. Very much.
So Bishop, I want to shift a little bit to your tenure. Now I know we've sort of jumped off light about the how did I end up with this? I mean the General Conference in the middle of a pandemic, and some other pressing issues that are going on that we'll briefly discuss in a bit. Just how do you feel? You are halfway through your tenure.
Oh, I'm so grateful.
I'm
halfway through. The tenure starts June 15th, and so you serve based on your rank of election, order of election. General Conference was supposed to be in 2020. That would have meant that Bishop Mitchell would have been the president during the General Conference. Because of the pandemic, it was moved to this year. And I still didn't have a clue what that meant. And people started saying to me, congratulations, you're the bishop of the General Conference. And I was like, duh, what does that mean? So the first part of my tenure was met with, we couldn't get the Africans here physically because of COVID and because of other issues. And so walking in literally the first day was this crisis that took up all of my time essentially until the General Conference. The second, which is, it's not funny, but the second day, the attorney of the church called and said, now, as the titular head of the church, you need to know we have this issue, that issue, and you got to know this one, and so you don't have to do anything. I'm just alerting you, and I'm like, huh? So I don't have to do anything. No, you don't have to do anything. You need to know. So we get to the General Conference, and it was one of the most. It was a historic General Conference, and yet it was a very arresting, kind of difficult General Conference, in that it was the first General Conference where a significant number of our delegates from the continent were not here because of the pandemic. And we began to have real technology problems, and it finally ended up that we were going to try and bring all of them to one or two places, and then that couldn't happen. At the last minute. So we had to literally everybody was on individually. And so trying to navigate that. And then we had hybrid within the person, so that people were in separate rooms as districts because of, and so then they were on. So in all of the decisions, I'm not over the General Conference Commission, but I'm over the council. So when there was a crisis with the commission, they would go to the commission chair, and then they would bring me in as the president of the council. So so that was an issue. The other complication of this general conference was that for me it was just trying to get bills through, trying to get my people in different places. But a bill came forth, like the first reading, and it was an LGBT related bill, and it was just cut. I mean, somebody got up and moved, cut it, and then it led to a thoughtful discussion of, is that really what we want to do? So as a church, don't we at least need to discern and pray and talk? So that became a kind of controversial. So they kept bringing me in, and my friend here, Dr. Thomas, kept sending me press people who wanted to have a position. I was like, I don't have no position. And so then, in the midst of the celebrations and the good preaching and the retirements, then the last night went up in a firestorm because of how some people were appointed. And I remember they had told me, you know, you performed as the president. You presided the last meeting. Well, in General Conference Pass, that is the easiest. The Episcopal Committee reads, and I hear the motion. We thank the Episcopal Committee. Sign it down, we go home. And it went into a firestorm because some people did not like the person that was chosen, and some of the people who were chosen didn't like. And I remember it was that Saturday night, in the midst of this, I looked at God and I said, are you for real? You, me, in all of this? And everybody said I was calm.
Yeah, you were.
Externally. Internally, I was going, okay, in the name of Jesus. Come on, God, in the name of Jesus. Because I was like, okay, I need to discern. Because it was just, boom, boom, boom. It was just getting louder and more aggressive, and anger at many levels. And I guess the joke for me was, and I learned that lesson from security, I needed to breathe. So I got up and stepped away from the stage, and boom, these people rushed it. They weren't violent. They just saw me and they said, Bishop, and then the security, the movies, the state, when Chris Rock played
Head of state.
Head of state. And so I'm standing there, and they run into the stage, and it was like, I didn't say it, but you know, Chris Rock said, security! And right. So I didn't say security, but they were standing there, and when they saw them coming to me, they went,
yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay. And they said, would you go sit down, Bishop? So that I left that general conference on how do we heal from those issues? How do we respond to the hurting of the bishops, to the hurting of the people, to the hurting of the LGBT community? And before that happened, we had a string of deaths. We had a supervisor to die, Supervisor Stan McKenzie. We had Bishop Clement Few's son, Joseph, to die. And then Bishop Preston Williams' sister died. Bishop Bobby Wester's daughter-in-law died. So then I became the pastor.
Yeah.
And so everything went okay. And then recently Mother Lucinda Beelan died, and Supervisor Jessica Ingram's mother died. And then this firestorm of there are some problems with some concerns with the military department, which we are still undercurrent, and so that put the leadership at a different level.
Yeah, yeah.
So how do you do the undercovering and yet respect the investigation when people are calling immediately for an answer when you just found out that there was a problem? How do you respond to all of that? And literally, I started asking God every day, what is it that you want out of my leadership? And I remember one day I said to God, I feel set up. I wasn't even supposed to be the president at this time. And so what I have found throughout my life and what I say to people, when you are authentically yourself, you become better in what you do. And so I just try to be who I am and hear from God and work and have the council work together as a team to pray and to discuss. So we are at a critical time and of the church when there are some prevailing issues that are just looming over us that gives some distrust, legitimately so, and questions about direction and solutions. And so in the middle of this, I have said to the bishops and I've said to the church that we're not going to hide. We're going to face it. We're going to be stronger together. But stronger together is not passive. And so one of the reasons why I didn't call a corporate prayer, although I had.
Because people have been asking, when are we going to pray? When are we going to pray? Yeah.
Right. Did you hear my answer yesterday?
So I heard it, but
Okay, my prayer was, I did not call for prayer because I wasn't sure what we were praying about.
Yes.
And so I looked, and God never released me. But one of the things that I heard in my spirit is that sometimes we use prayer and forgiveness quickly as a panacea.
I know that term, cheap forgiveness.
Right, cheap forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to pray, but I felt like people were not at a place to pray.
And Bishop, just in this vein, there are some people who are watching this right now who haven't been able to make it to the general board, and there's still a lot swirling. What would you say to those persons right now who are watching this, who are still,
There's a lot that we have not learned. There are other persons involved in helping us find that out, and so in the midst of our need to know, there are some things that we just can't know until the process is completed. Secondly, that we have absolute compassion for any persons that have been impacted, hurt, lost, and that it is a we thing, because all of us have been in this process. And thirdly, that we are going to work not only to find the truth, and I said the truth will set you free, but it'll make you mad, make you want to hurt somebody. That right now we need to look at everything. So we need to look at policies and procedures. We need to look at what it is that we need to do to arrest this problem, and we need to have honest dialogue and contribution by the whole of the church to address some of the concerns.
So Bishop, as we're wrapping up, this is midway through your tenure. When we're back and wherever we are next year, there will be a new president of the council. How do you want your time in this chair to be remembered?
Well, when I started this, I wanted to create a set of doctrinal videos that bishops would teach the church or give explanation to churches about what we believe, because there isn't anything, and we're going to do that still. So I've been asking God, what is my legacy?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not still sure, but a person said to me yesterday, texted me and said, we needed to know that there were bishops who genuinely cared.
Mm-hmm.
And we needed to know that there are bishops who have the best for all of us. And that you have brought a level of transparency and mutual respect and honesty that we're going to work to fix problems in the church.
Bishop, you've shown us so much through your art, through your compassion, through your prayer life, and we just take this time to thank you for being who you are.
Thank you.
On behalf of the 13th District that I'm a member of, St. John AME Church Nashville, where the Reverend Lisa Hamlin is my pastor and the Reverend Annika Howard is my presiding elder. I have a female bishop, presiding elder, and pastor. I'm excited about that. We thank you. We love you here. And just thank you for being who you are. Thank you for the leadership you've shown the church. Thank you for taking the time today to speak with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.